We begin today's meditation with a few sipping exercises to remind us a little treat can go a long way. So pick up your McCafe iced coffees, close your eyes, and deep sip in. And deep satisfaction out.
Take a treat retreat at McDonald's. Right now, get a McCafe iced coffee in any size and any flavor for just 99 cents until 11 a.m. Price of participation may vary.
The views expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Saga 960 AM or its management.
You are listening to New Theory Radio.
Hello, and welcome to New Theory Radio, the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture. My name is Nav Nanwa. I'm your host. And this is officially a start of the new era. Yes, it is 11 a.m. It is officially what I'm coining the brunch era of New Theory Radio, as we're officially on our new time slot here on News Talk Saga 960 AM. And we're back live in the studio. Yes, after a 5-month quarantine / lockdown / what everybody else has been doing. It feels good to be back home in our environment, even though I was doing the show from home over the last couple of months. I do love the fact that we're back here at the Saga 960 AM studios, obviously under very stringent safety protocol. As always, I had to wipe everything down before I was using it, and I'm going to have to wipe everything down again after I leave. But if you're new to the show, thank you for checking us out. If you're someone who's been with us since the very beginning, we thank you as well for all of your continued support. Like I mentioned, it feels great to be back here at the Saga 960 AM studio. It's great to see your face again, Jyoti, even though you're wearing a mask. It's been a while. I think it's been like 6 months since I've seen you. But we have a jam-packed hour lined up for you today. We are actually going to welcome a longtime friend of mine and a New Theory alum, someone who I got my media start with back on Rogers TV Peel. She is my good friend, Radha Tailor. And she'll be joining me to talk and theorize about some pop culture news from the week. We're actually going to be talking about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which is celebrating 30 years this week. Can you believe it? 30 years of the Fresh Prince. Fans across the world were celebrating as Will Smith and the Banks family had some photos, actually. Some photos surfaced about a unscripted reunion that's going to be taking place. And it also included the original Aunt Viv. Can you believe it? The original Aunt Viv was pictured with Will Smith as well. And there's also a spin-off coming, which is going to put a dramatic spin on the Fresh Prince. So I'm going to get Radha's perspective on that. Plus, we're going to talk about the news that came out this week that Ellen Degeneres is going to be coming back with another season of The Ellen Show. And this is quite significant if you've been paying attention to the news over the last couple of months. There's been a ton of controversy and allegations that have come out regarding the Ellen Show when it comes to mistreatment of employees, sexual harassment, just an overall toxic environment. So the fact that it was announced this week that the Ellen Show is coming back and that Ellen does plan to address this, I believe on the first episode, which is going to be airing next week, I thought it'd be great to talk about this and to really figure out whether this is a situation where could someone like Ellen potentially bounce back? Is this a cancel culture situation? Is this something that people are not going to forget? So Radha and I will be dissecting that as well. And then for our NTR Spotlight this week, which is our segment where we profile creators pushing the arts and culture scene forward, both locally and globally, we are going to be profiling a group of Mississauga musicians who are actually uniting to raise money for the Mississauga Food Bank. It's an original song called Through Your Eyes and is performed by rock band Maybe May and 8 other prominent local artists, where 100% of the proceeds on Bandcamp will go towards the food bank. Joining us to talk about that in further detail a little later in the show for the NTR Spotlight is a member from Maybe May, Rian Cunningham, and popular singer-songwriter Alessia Cohle. All this and more on this week's edition of NTR. So thank you so much for tuning in on our new time slot. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with my good friend Radha Tailor here on News Talk Saga 960 AM.
You are listening to New Theory Radio Pop Culture Panel.
And we are back here on New Theory Radio on News Talk Saga 960 AM, the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host, and thank you again for joining us at our new time, which is 11 to 12 p.m., which you can hear us each and every Sunday here on Saga 960. So I hope you're enjoying your brunch. Make sure to tag us on IG at New Theory Radio with your brunch photos while you're enjoying the show. And somebody else who enjoys brunch is my guest on our little pop culture panel, a panel of two people. So I don't know if you can really call it a pop culture panel this week, Radha, but whatever, we'll run with it. And I'm going to read your bio based on what you sent me yesterday. You are in,
it's hilarious.
Let me know if I said this right, ECRM and Marketing Automation Specialist at Hayes Recruitment Specialist, which is a recruitment firm. So if you need a job, give her a shout. She's a Brampton Library Board trustee. She is a Peel Power panelist with the weekly show on Saga 960 AM with our good friend Rian Gertran. I miss Ryan's his like Soca theme song. Like that always used to get me so hyped up. Former political and municipal reporter at Rogers TV and the Bramptonist and editorial staff at CTV News and Global Mornings. Absolute fangirl over eyewear, owns 11 pairs of opticals alone, has spent the last few months making lots of ice cream at home. Homemade ice cream? Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh, crazy. And then what's not so crazy is that you tore your ACL last April playing trampoline dodgeball, which I remember that story, leading your physical therapist to say that she meets his annual quota of a dodgeball client per year. So you're officially a statistic, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
In many ways.
Awesome. I love it. It is my good friend Radha Tailor. Radha, it's been a while since we had you on New Theory Radio, so thanks so much for joining us live on our new time slot.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations on that. So exciting.
Yeah, I had no say in this time slot. It was all Jyoti, but I do like it. It's a lot more. It's better for my day. I find that starting my day with New Theory Radio is probably going to set me up for a better day later on.
That's true. It's generally because you also have a very happy show or a positive show. It's also it's pop culture, but like critical thinking of pop culture.
It is.
So
it is. Yeah. But this week actually marked the 30th anniversary of one of our favorite shows, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Since West Philadelphia, born and raised, I'm not going to do the full song. The legendary show, which ran for 6 seasons, has to be considered, in my opinion, and maybe you agree, one of the most popular shows of all time. It skyrocketed the career of Will Smith into superstardom, and photos surfaced this week of a reunion special that's taking place for HBO Max, another streaming service, and it features Janet Hubert, who is the original Aunt Viv. Did you ever hear about the beef between the original Aunt Viv and Will Smith?
Oh, of course. There was everything from, some people said it was because she was pregnant. There's other ones because like apparently Will and Carlton kept on pranking her on set. She hated it. Then they said it was a toxic environment, blah, 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 blah. It goes on.
Yeah. And then, it's kind of interesting that to coincide with this 30th anniversary, they announced a dramatic reboot called Bel-Air, which is also being picked up by another streaming service called Peacock, which is affiliated with NBC, which I believe, when the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was on air in the 90s, it was on NBC. So a lot of Fresh Prince news. Like, to me, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this is this show represents nostalgia to the fullest. And I feel that no matter how old you are or how young you are, like even my 7-year-old niece watches Fresh Prince. It just has that appeal. And before we begin, first and foremost, rest in peace, Uncle Phil. But Radha, what does this show mean to you?
So funny enough, we mentioned this because I'm actually watching Fresh Prince for the first time right now.
No way.
Dead serious. And like I'd seen clips here and back and forth. But I'm finally watching it. So I'm in the middle of the 5th season right now.
So wait, are you saying that you never used to watch it at all, or did you watch it? Oh wow. Okay. So you're
yeah.
So you're like the wrong guest to talk about this then.
No, not quite. Because the thing is, like, it was one of those things where, like, I knew so much about Fresh Prince without watching Fresh Prince. And then when I started watching it, I turned it on, my family would be over, my uncles, and it turns out that my uncles grew up watching Fresh Prince because out of the 3 uncles on my mom's side, the oldest one is Will Smith's age.
Oh, okay.
Right?
That's interesting.
So then as I started watching this and I'm hearing some of the jokes, I'm like, oh, shit, I understand.
Can't swear.
Oh, pardon. I'm like,
we're live now. We're live.
Oh, boy, I kind of understand what my uncles are talking about when they make their references and when they make their jokes, right?
Oh, it is one of those shows where like the amount of times you greet someone when we used to be able to give people high fives and used to do the little jazz Will Smith exchange where you slap the high five and go psh, and then again a lot of prominent jokes or a lot of prominent moments.
Yeah.
Even like if you go on social media, like people still refer, like a lot of memes you see are from this show.
Completely. And I think one that was very instrumental was there was that one scene where Jazz is testifying.
Yeah.
In court, he's like, yo, I gotta lay my hands up because if not, he's gonna shoot me 6 times in the back, right?
Yeah.
Think about how many times just that pivotal scene was replicated and multiplied throughout social media because of the current movements, right?
Exactly.
And it's funny because I'm watching this, and the more and more I watch it, the more and more I realize a lot of these jokes are not faded. Like they still, almost all of it still stands the test of time right now.
It does. It totally does. And like, are you surprised by the show's longevity? Like, I find that a lot of programs that came out in the 90s have definitely stood the test of time versus some that maybe came out 10 or 15 years later. Like, how many people do you know look at the OC in the same light that they look at now to like Beverly Hills, right? Like, I think for some reason the 90s has this aura to it. But to your point around the clip that you're talking about involving Jazz in court, like that has been something that's been played a lot on social media. Are you surprised that the show's been able to stay relevant for so long?
I think I'm surprised with how much of the show has been able to stay relevant for so long. Because at the same time, I'm also watching The Jeffersons right now.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. And there's certain areas of The Jeffersons where, you see differences in the class structure. You see the interactions when it comes into race. But a lot of the jokes have faded because there's a lot of races, like a lot of jokes that would have been appropriate at that time that you wouldn't even think about now. Whereas with Fresh Prince, for instance, jokes of a sexual nature where, you know what I mean? Like if someone makes an advancement on a female, like a male makes an advancement on a female, the female was like, ha, 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 I can't really say much, but I have to deal with it.
Yeah.
On Fresh Prince, you have a lot of female empowerment on there.
Oh, you do?
Where it's like, if there's a wrong move put against them, it's like you have to show respect, and it's demonstrated on that show. So I don't know how this thought process came about. I don't know if this was a sign of the times or if this is just their own morals and values that came into it. Or maybe it's the fact that a lot of them grew up, especially with Will, not having a father, like in real life, the fact that they grew up with strong female women around them that may have had an influence on the show. And I think in that way it's become a front runner in standing the test of time. Yeah.
What are some of your favorite moments, being that you've been watching it now?
Oh my gosh. There's so many. Any reference to Zeke and like Uncle Phil's mom just makes me so happy. I'm loving Lisa. I think she's a great character, and I think it's absolutely hilarious that she had played that woman had played an old ex-girlfriend back in the first season.
Yeah. Which
kills me. Oh God, I'm trying to think of moments. This is really hard. It's been
Well, one of the best has to be the Will Smith, Uncle Phil sort of embrace moment after Will's dad walks out on him again, right? Like that's a moment that I think gets replayed like every single year when James Avery's death anniversary pops up.
And I mean that's an interesting clip, right? Because that particular clip wasn't scripted.
Yeah. Like,
right?
Actually, I think Will recently, because how Will Smith's obviously big on Instagram now, I think he actually mentioned how off the cuff that scene was.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the actor playing Uncle Phil, he didn't know what to do, but he just wanted to give him a hug, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny looking back at that because Will Smith himself says, I don't really like watching my old episodes. I don't really like going back and watching a lot of the series because that's not who I am and that's not the character I want to play.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, it resonates, and especially those moments where he is going off the cuff and you see the natural, in a way, it's a natural beauty of acting, but it's also his natural response, right? And that's, I think, how it resonates so hard. You know what? I absolutely love watching Will mock things. Like, and I'm okay. So actually, here's how I'll say it. The way that I judge Fresh Prince is that there's sometimes I'll watch an episode and I have to fast forward it because I'm like, this is way too cringy for me, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's like maybe 3 episodes, like for instance, when Will and Carlton stole the cutlery. And I was like, don't do that, Will. Don't do that.
So good. So good.
And I had to fast forward it. I was like, I can't deal. But there's other stuff when, like, when Will's dancing, Carlton's dancing. I'm a firm, true lover of I am telling you I'm not going nowhere and that lip syncing. I'm just like, Will, I feel you here.
It's that dramatic sort of swagger that Will Smith has always sort of put into his roles. And you don't really see that, like maybe the Bad Boys movies are somewhat of a similar sort of look and feel regarding that type of idea. But yeah, you don't really see that too much. Does it surprise you, just to kind of close the segment, does it surprise you that him and the original Aunt Viv pieced it out? Because there was rumors that they were never going to piece it out.
I actually don't know. I thought there was so much hatred that it wasn't going to happen. So yeah, I'm surprised. Props to them. Don't know what's happened in their careers. But hold on. Before we quickly close off, though, I do want to make a touch on this. The fact of the matter is, Fresh Prince did have a very strong showing when it came down to showing the differences in privilege, in class structure, in race structure, in female empowerment, in sexuality. When it came down to education, and it came down to essentially the affordability that people have. And also it came down to friendship, it came down to fatherhood, it came down to motherhood.
Yeah.
And most specifically, how to be respectful to other people despite what your upbringing is, as well as what happens if you have ignorance in your life and how it can affect you.
Yeah, and just to kind of close it off, like, it's one of those shows that if you are watching it now, there barely is any moment in that show where you're like, you know what, this doesn't really age well considering what's happening in the world. More so you're looking at it like, wow, this is really ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we jump into the next topic, one question I wanted to ask you, Radha, is again, we were talking about how memeable Fresh Prince is, and one of the memes that I've been seeing, and unfortunately I did favorite it, even though I think in hindsight I shouldn't have. It's the one where Carlton's playing basketball and he throws the ball and he misses the net. And people are obviously comparing that to the performance of one Pascal Siakam. And we all know Pascal Siakam is going to bounce back. This was his first year as, the big number one for the Toronto Raptors. But my real question about the Raptors, and to bring this into New Theory Radio world, is, Radha, where was Drake during this Raptors playoff run? We didn't see Drake, do, like, I totally get he can't go to the bubble. He can't be courtside. He can't be, using a lint brush on his pants. But I don't know. I felt like we didn't really hear much from Drake during this entire playoff run. Like, it's almost like he knew what the end result was going to be. I
have absolutely no clue, and I tried Googling it, and everything's only showing me 2019. Oh,
yeah. You know what? He's probably still recovering from the parade, and probably trying to work on his new album.
Maybe new album, maybe his house, maybe there was a construction need. I have no clue. Yeah, I had no clue.
And like he is like he is here in Toronto, so maybe because he's not at the bubble, he just felt like he couldn't talk about it.
I kind of wonder how much of an influence on Fandemonium and on momentum from the Raptors if he was very, very loud during the playoffs.
Yeah, well, you know what? We did see a big crowd at, was it Jurassic Drive-In? Is that what they called it? At Ontario Place? So, but yeah, I don't want to talk about the Raptors because that's just going to make me sad. But, there's always next year, and we'll see how that ends up. But our next topic that I want to talk about here on New Theory Radio, it was announced this week that The Ellen Show is set to return for season 18, and it's going to start on Monday, September 21st. This is coming out of a tumultuous few months for host Ellen DeGeneres and her staff, as a lot of former employees have come forward with allegations around staff mistreatment, sexual misconduct, and what's being described in many publications and articles as a culture of fear. So much so that you're not only having like behind the scenes staff talk about how uncomfortable they were working on the show, like you've had like celebrity guests come out and talk about how uncomfortable they've been to be on the show. Like Mariah Carey flat out said that she wasn't feeling it. So, this is interesting. Like Ellen, to me, at one point in her life, just felt like she was foolproof, right? Like you just felt like Ellen is just one of those people that everyone loves and people are into her show. Then when these allegations started rolling out, to me, I think really affected her reputation, and you almost had this call for cancellation online. Now she's coming back, and she's pretty much saying that she's going to address these allegations head on during the first episode. But Radha, with your media experience and some of the work that you've done here locally in the community, what's your thoughts on this? And do you think the show should be coming back?
I think it is advantageous for NBC to have the show come back for a few reasons. Number one, Ellen is a female. Number two, she's a lesbian and representation of and I don't want to say she is a true representation of the LGBTQ community because we don't know what is a true representation. Everyone's their own individual person. Mm-hmm. But there is tokenism in that way. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, because she is in the news right now for so much toxicity, people are going to be tuning into that episode.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a definite ratings hit for sure. I think people are going to watch to see what she's going to say. Yeah.
So I think on a money grabbing scheme and for network ratings, it's going to be advantageous for them. I think she has a very big uphill, you know what I'm talking about. She has a lot to climb.
Uphill battle, yeah.
There we go.
Don't worry, it is 11:30 on a Sunday. It's fine.
Yeah, just because, when she originally came out as being a lesbian, she was persecuted like hell. It's just like how Lance Bass was persecuted when he came out as being gay from NSYNC, right? Mm-hmm. And then, both their careers and their career trajectories, it grew in certain ways. But part of their labels was the fact that they were part of the LGBTQ community. With Ellen, it took her a long time to get back to where she was. Mm-hmm. So I understand sensitivities that can come towards her, or the sensitivities that she feels that people are making these allegations about her in public. I understand that she wants to have this culture of niceness around her and kindness, and that's the culture she built around her. The only problem is just because you say something does not necessarily mean that as an entrepreneur, you're also a good manager and you're a good HR director. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? Like at the end of the day, there's people we know and people in Canada as well where they want this culture of being creative and innovative with their thinking, in the arts communities and other communities. But then, the interns behind the scenes are being told by professors don't ever work for him because it's a toxic environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think you know exactly who I'm talking about. But the only problem is that, that one completely destroyed a career. With Ellen, she rebuilt a career, then it's dying. So we're going to see, number one, do people even want to be working there anymore? Because, with COVID, with the pay cuts, with the toxicity, with the sexual harassment, sure, they're trying to mitigate and make changes. But how much of this is going to change? How much is HR going to be influencing how people live? Because especially in that industry, it's kind of like at the TV stations that we see now, where it's like a lot of people are on contracts and you have to fight to survive pretty much. Because if you lose your role, you essentially lose your reputation, or you lose a job and you may not be able to get one back because the fields are so saturated.
In your opinion, if you're Ellen, how would you address this?
I think number one, she'd have to apologize. And I don't just mean apologize as to, I'm sorry that this is what people are feeling. It's like, I'm sorry, I was responsible and I knew about this culture of toxicity and I did not do anything about it. Or, as a matter of fact, that I contributed to it and she has to be very, very clear about what she is going to do to change this. She can't go on the attack saying, I wish that people were not talking about me like this. This has to stop. Like, that just works against her. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter your history or background. Like, you messed up. So it's similar to how a lot of companies were responding in Black Lives Matter, being like, we have to do a better job when it comes to the equity of our workforce and being more sensitive to that. She has to come out and say, she specifically has to say, these are the changes that we are making internally to make sure this is a safe environment for our employees, and a productive environment, an innovative and creative environment. And this is specifically what I will be doing, and this is how I will be held accountable for it.
Yeah, I think it needs to almost be like, it's going to have to be a big PR statement and PR event in regards to this first episode and what she says. And yeah, it's, you know, I hate to say it, but I feel like because of who she is and because of the adversity she's felt in her career, there were a lot of people when these allegations came out that were just disappointed, I guess, because she is a trailblazer in regards to being able to be someone who's always, you know, came out and felt the backlash when she came out, but then was able to bounce back and has almost become, you know, this success story. But then when you heard about a lot of the behind the scenes stories that were coming out from the show, I hate to say it, but it almost took away from that, right? Like, it took away from what she was able to do. So to me, it's more of it'll be an interesting bounce back, because normally you're used to seeing people who are overly successful that have been able to do amazing things be put in a similar situation because of just mistreatment that bubbles up, versus someone who, you know, was able to break down barriers and create opportunities, and all of a sudden, again, some news comes out and it's not all it seems, right?
And I think that's completely it, right? Like, you're talking about adversity, and it's completely true. She broke so many barriers, but fundamentally, let's say hypothetically you were working in a company or you were following someone, and it doesn't matter what barriers they broke. If you found out they were a jerk, you're going to keep your distance away from that, because it goes completely against, you know, everything that you thought that they stood for.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Do you plan on watching?
Pardon?
Do you plan on watching the first episode?
Yeah, I'll find the clips afterwards. I think the part that's good. Yeah, because you know what it is? What I'm finding interesting is that you've had a couple of celebrities that said, yeah, I felt uncomfortable going onto the show. She kind of just ignored everything else. Mariah Carey, I know she was angry because, you know, Ellen kind of broke the secret about her pregnancy. But then you have a lot of these other celebrities that are like, oh my God, Ellen's amazing. But of course, you know, you don't really know what happens in the background. So it's interesting to see who is on the first, you know, couple of episodes. Like, I think, who was it? I know Chrissy Teigen's on it. I'm not too sure about Kerry Washington, but there's a few. Yeah. And then the question is, you know, if this is the brand that you're associating with, why is it that you believe in the brand? And what are you doing as well then to address the toxicity as well as the allegations and accountability? Because if you choose to say yes right at the beginning and you're supporting your friends, that means part of the onus now is going to be on you. Yeah. Right? Like, their names have also been across the news as well. BuzzFeed's been doing a great job. A couple of other ones have as well. You know, saying, I support Ellen. I stand by Ellen. That's fine. But that's now part of your brand. So you, like, it's on you. It's on you.
Yeah, it's going to be something interesting that we're all going to have to watch for sure. Radha, I want to thank you for joining us here on New Theory Radio for our first live episode on our new time slot here at 11 to 12 p.m. If any of the listeners want to reach out to you, what's the best way?
Instagram is easily the best way. Radha Tailor, RADHATAILOR.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll have to have you back in a few weeks for sure to talk more pop culture. But that is Radha Tailor, local media personality. Go give her a shout on IG. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back with more New Theory Radio here on News Talk, Saga 960 AM.
You are listening to New Theory Radio, NTR Spotlight.
And welcome back to New Theory Radio. It's about that time for our NTR Spotlight of the Week, which is our segment where we profile creators pushing the arts and culture scene forward locally and globally. And this week, we're putting the spotlight on a very special initiative. Mississauga-based music marketing company Anti-Skeptic Entertainment, along with not-for-profit Mississauga Music, which is a good friends of ours, and internationally renowned Metalworks Studio in Mississauga have come together, embarking on their first ever charitable effort to benefit the Mississauga Food Bank. The aim is to raise money with an original song performed by rock band Maybe May, featuring 8 prominent local artists. Theorize was released this past Tuesday, September 8th, via Maybe May's Bandcamp, which is www.maybemay.bandcamp.com. With a donation of their choice, minimum $1, supporters will receive a download of the song, as 100% of the proceeds collected over a 3-month period will be donated to aid in the efforts for the Mississauga Food Bank. Joining me to talk about this initiative further, I have 2 artists that helped make this song a reality. The first is an individual who has been partial to numerous musical projects over the years and is still currently engaging with acts in multiple genres. They act as a producer for massive TikTok influencers, as well as a songwriter and arranger for hire, and is always gradually establishing himself in the modern music industry. For the band Maybe May, I have Rian Cunningham. Rian, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Nav. I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. And the second is a singer who's been putting her own stamp on country music. Her honest lyrics paired with her catchy melodies complement her dynamic performance on every stage. She has shared the stage with Brett Kissel, Tim Hicks, Jason Blaine, and more, and has actually performed on many festival stages, including the Havelock Country Jamboree and the Toronto Cider Fest. And we're so honored to have her on the show as well. I have Alessia Cohle. Alessia, thanks so much for making time for us.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Amazing. So first and foremost, Rian and Alessia, congratulations. This is a great initiative. And again, I think the song is wonderful. And I think this is fantastic in regards to what you're doing for the Mississauga Food Bank. Rian, we'll start with you. How did this idea get started?
Well, this was actually in the works for quite a while. I know that Degeneres, the vocalist and guitar player for Maybe May, if you guys aren't already aware, is sort of the guy who put this all together, so to speak. He had this idea and was like, "This is what we want to do. We're going to get Mississauga music involved. We're going to get a bunch of artists involved, and we just want to do a sort of Michael Jackson style, like We Are the World sort of local collaboration for a good cause." And myself and Vitaly, who's the drummer, we were all open to it. And the song, Demetrius wrote a lot of it, and then Vitaly and I sort of worked on our parts individually. And then once we had a nice final, structured and demoed, we passed it along and said, hey, just ask whoever you wanted to ask to see if they're involved in this. And personally, I am super proud that everyone who's on this song was able to shine a little bit. It was really cool to work with everyone and get that process sorted. However, I will say, just from anyone who knows Maybe May, we've been hearing that, we're going soft, but you know what? It's
for good reason, though. For good reason.
Exactly. It's for a good cause. So you know what? If you're selling out for charity, who cares?
Alessia, what really excited you to be a part of this?
I'm a firm believer in giving back to the community, and I mean, I was born and raised in Mississauga, so I have such a strong connection to the city, and I like to get involved with Mississauga music. And when Demetrius asked, it was a no-brainer. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And how Ryan was saying that they went soft, it was kind of the opposite for me. I'm a pop country singer-songwriter, and but I didn't care. I was like, this is an awesome initiative. I want to be a part of it. I don't care if it's heavy metal. I'll find a way to somehow, make it work for me. And I'm so happy that I did.
Yeah, and I must say, the actual the diversity in voices that you hear on this song are very catchy and very it really brings you into what the purpose of the song is, and it's a very collaborative effort. It's something that you can totally take from just listening to it. Why was it so important to align with the Mississauga Food Bank? And maybe Ryan, we'll begin with you.
So I know Mississauga Food Bank basically since I was in high school, trying to get those community service hours in there. So Mississauga Food Bank was one of the places that I was looking into, and obviously with any food bank, whether it be in Toronto, Brampton, or around the world, wherever it may have you, food is very important, and especially we thought it was important to give back to the food bank specifically, just because we understand that with the pandemic and everything like that, I hate saying we're in desperate times or it's one of those things, but it's super important that right now people have food in their pantries and food in their stomach, especially because we need that to survive. So the most we could do is just give back. And as of this morning, I believe in the last 5 days or so, we're almost at $1,000 raised, which is incredible.
Awesome.
So hopefully we can donate as much as possible and give back to a really worthy cause that's been around in the community for decades, I believe. So it's amazing to see the support so far.
Alessia, how would you describe the process of putting a song together like this, especially when you have all these artists from different genres? You obviously are more on the country pop side. If you listen to Maybe May, I know Ryan, you and Degeneres and the rest of the gang are very hard metal, and very much love to rock out. So when you have all of these, differing genres at the table, Alessia, how did you go about kind of navigating that to making sure that what you were putting forward was able to fit along with what everyone else was doing?
Honestly, we all brought what we all do best to the forefront.
I agree.
And we all just said, this is who we are as artists and as people. And no one tried to change that, which was amazing to see and to watch and hear. And, Demetrius was like, just do your thing, do you. And we want it to be diverse. And I think that's what's so great about Mississauga, is that we are so diverse. And we have so many diverse artists and musicians that we all just came together and we're all like, yeah, we're just going to do our thing and it's going to work. And it did.
That's awesome. No, and it's great. Exactly like what I mentioned earlier. It's a very collaborative effort, and you can hear that throughout the song. What's been the feedback? We know, it's fantastic that you guys have been able to raise over $1,000 so far. But has the city taken notice? How's Metalworks feeling about it? Metalworks is the premier recording institution within Mississauga, so it's great to see that they're involved. What's been that reception like?
So far, for just example, just the music video alone that we put out 2 days ago for this track, which I recommend everybody check out. Mm-hmm. It's so far our most popular song, because we haven't released something this year, and having all these names and all these awesome artists involved in this is fantastic. It's getting a lot of attention. I know that Mississauga News was talking about it a little bit, Modern Mississauga, a few other outlets. So it's good to see that people are actually taking notice, and we're just hoping that turns into more donations for the food bank.
That's awesome. No, it's fantastic. Do you think this opens the door for more of these types of collaborations here locally in the community? Because I love the fact that, number one, this is for a cause, but I think, the somewhat local music supporter in me is also happy to see a lot of our artists even coming together and putting music out together. Do you think this actually maybe opens the door for more collaborations of this nature? And maybe Alessia will get you to tackle that one.
That's actually a perfect segue. I was going to say, can I jump in here?
Yeah.
This actually did spark a little something in me.
Oh, okay.
That I can't quite talk about yet.
Oh, give us an exclusive. Come on.
I still have a couple more, I's to dot and T's to cross, but this definitely sparked something in me. And like I said, I'm a firm believer in giving back to the community and helping out as much as possible. So I do have some new music coming out. I'm not trying to plug myself, but the collaboration portion definitely sparked something in me. So I'm excited to be hopefully bringing Mississauga together for some live music soon. And also it will also be a charitable initiative. So thanks to Maybe May and Ryan and Demetrius for for that little bit of inspiration for my end anyways.
Excellent. That's what I love to hear.
No, it's great. It's great. And I urge everyone to go check it out. It is Through Your Eyes. It was released this past Tuesday via Maybe May's Bandcamp at www.maybemay.bandcamp.com. A reminder that with the donation of your choice, minimum $1, obviously, supporters will receive a download of the song, and 100% of the proceeds collected over 3 months will be donated to the Mississauga Food Bank. Alessia and Ryan, thank you again for joining us here on New Theory Radio. Definitely appreciate it. Best of luck on this campaign, and it's a fantastic song, so I hope more comes out of it.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back with more New Theory Radio here on News Talk Saga 960 AM.
I imagined your lack was mine.
Why don't we look inside? Find the reason we do not try.
You are listening to New Theory Radio.
And we're back here on New Theory Radio, here live on News Talk Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa. I am your host. And I'm so happy to be back in the studio. I missed my commercial break banter with our producer Jyoti Banu, and we're obviously keeping socially distant. We have a glass. I feel like we've always been socially distant because there's always been a glass between the producer and the host. So we're definitely ahead of the curve there. But it feels good to be back in the studio, and I want to thank my guests, Radha Tailor, for joining us to talk about some pop culture topics, as well as Alessia Cohle and Rian Cunningham from Maybe May to talk about the track Through Your Eyes, which is a benefit track currently available on Bandcamp. Go check it out. We'll provide the link on our social media as well as our podcast description, where every donation that's made to download that song will go towards the Mississauga Food Bank. This actually concludes this week's edition of New Theory Radio, but I do want to thank you for tuning in to our new time slot here on Saga 960 AM. Again, you can hear us each and every Sunday, 11 to 12 p.m. So if you're someone new that tuned in and you liked what you heard, tune in next week. We're always around here, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. We also re-air on Monday from 8 to 9 p.m. And then the podcast version is out after that, so late Monday. And you can check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you search New Theory Radio. If you want to connect with me, it is at Nav Nanwa on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to connect with New Theory Radio, it is at New Theory Radio across all social platforms. Big shout outs to my photographer / AV strategist Aunt Nanwa, aka at Colorblind Photography _ go give him a follow. And then special shout outs to our producer of the track you're hearing in the background, Dusty Loops. Go send him a follow at Dusty Loops. And shout out to Jyoti Banu for risking her safety for us. We really appreciate it. And this is a wrap for this week's edition. Thank you so much, and you will hear all of us next time.
No radio? No problem. Stream us live on saga960am.ca.